Hello, everybody. Welcome to Mind Blowing Health and Wellness with Violet. I'm actually just trying to load up my vision of what's happening here so we can start the live stream. Okay, so it looks like everything's working. Today I wanted to jump on because it's my 1 year anniversary of doing, well, actually, it's my 1 year anniversary of doing YouTube videos. And I thought it would be interesting to put up something talking a bit about how hard it is to do a ketogenic lifestyle. But I feel like I want to talk about it again from the psychological point of view, and I wanted to make relations between actually most of the things that we do in life, how difficult it can be to try to accomplish things when we don't really know what we're trying to accomplish. Now, here's what's interesting. Living a ketogenic lifestyle is actually quite simple. And I think this is part of the reason that when people try to do keto and then they're not able to maintain it, they automatically assume, well, then it must be because keto is not maintainable. And the thing that I'm trying to really put forward for everyone to think about is that there are other factors that come into play that talk about why we have a hard time doing keto long term, having good relationships long term, enjoying our work long term. Okay, so first, doing a ketogenic lifestyle is pretty simple, right? Keep your grams of carbs under 20. That's actually the only one thing you truly need to do to be in a ketogenic lifestyle. If you keep your grams of carbs under 20, everything else will follow along. How do we do that? Again, eating low glycemic vegetables. So that means that we are not eating anything that's high in sugar or carbohydrates. Those are two words for the same substance. Seems pretty basic. So, as a psychologist, my job is to help people understand how to do what they want to do in a way that's going to be successful. One thing that I'm going to point out is that the energy effort that I put into becoming a psychologist, so 7 years of schooling after high school. That's the energy and effort, the work that I put into to become a psychologist. And I knew that I wanted to be a psychologist from a very young age, so putting in that commitment didn't seem like a big deal when you're in your early, late teens, early 20s. Now, when you want to do anything in life that's going to be like amazing for you, there's oftentimes a big amount of work attached to it. Interestingly, as much as the idea of keto is really simple, the work that you actually need to put in to accomplish keto is quite difficult. So, and it's not difficult in the sense that there's so much that is hard. It's difficult in the sense that it means that there's certain things I'm not doing anymore. So, let me just go through my list here. So first of all, that need to commit. That need to say, I'm not eating certain foods because I'm now eating other foods. We are addicted to carbohydrates. Every time I say that to someone for the first time, they look at me like, you're crazy, Violet, that's not possible. It's obvious to people when they drink too much. It's obvious to people when someone else has drank too much. We can see on the person that they're drunk, right? Like the obvious reaction to the bad substance is there. When we eat carbohydrates, we don't notice how poorly we feel because we've been so used to eating. We start eating carbohydrates when we're like less than 1 year old on some occasions. Like if you look at the fruit that we give babies, that smushy fruit, the puree, like that's pure carbohydrates, right? We're feeding our children sugar from a very young age. And by the way, any new parents, think about this. The first time you put that whatever fruit in your child's mouth, they didn't react favorably. And especially when you consider the first time you put a vegetable in your child's mouth, the first time you put meat in a child's mouth, the reaction that we typically get to the fruit purees is very different. So My point though, we're giving children sugar from a very young age, and then when we're adults and we're not able to see our addiction anymore, we don't understand why, but well, I've been living my addiction, in my case, for like 44 years. So am I going to see it as clearly? Well, no. So when do we actually see it? That's the interesting part. We see it when we stop eating sugar. All those people who talk about having keto flu, if you actually look at the symptoms of keto flu, you're going through carbohydrate withdrawal. So again, I'm trying to help people to understand that if I don't first and foremost accept and understand that I'm addicted to carbohydrates, I'm not going to be able to commit to taking the carbohydrates down to 20 grams or less. And if I don't commit, I'm not going to be successful. Now, the other thing that we need to get past is this idea of giving up, right? So I just said we're going to commit to taking our grams of carbs down. That brings people right away to, I have to give up bread, I have to give up pasta, I have to give... I really love looking at it like making a trade. I'm not giving up anything as much as I'm saying I'm very willing to trade in this poor food for better health. And if I know that by deciding today I'm only eating vegetables that are good for me, I'm only eating foods in general that are good for me in order to accomplish better health, then the question is, do I feel like that's a good trade? You know, at this point today, it's been since April 20th, 2018, that I've been living a ketogenic lifestyle, which means April 20th, 2018 was the last, or before that date, was the last time that I ate bread or any kind of cookie, ice cream. Like, it was the last time that I ate most fruit. I did have a strawberry since then, I think it was July of the same year, but I had to commit, right? And I didn't, not even that I had to, I wanted to commit to eating better, because from all the research that I had done, it was what was going to solve my hip issue. That's what got me on this road. I had a hip issue, and so my hip issue was I was unable to sit in a chair for more than 40 minutes before my hip would start to just, I need to get up. In my job, psychologist, I sit for minimum 50 minutes per session. So if you consider that the last 10 minutes of session 1 was excruciating, and sometimes I had 2 to 3 sessions to do in a row. Now, again, that's my story. That's why I was willing to make the trade. What's your story going to be? Why are you going to be willing to make the trade? My bigger point in this conversation is see it as a trade. As soon as I tell myself, I can't do this, I'm not allowed to do this, I have to give up this, when I start talking to myself like that, what I actually end up doing is setting myself up to feel deprived. Setting myself up to feel like I'm not like everybody else. And as soon as we feel like we're not like everybody else, we want to, right? That whole fear of missing out thing. And then rather than focusing on how amazing you're feeling, which is what I do, you focus on what other people are doing and how come they can do that and I can't. And the truth is, and I tell this to everybody, you can do that. You absolutely can eat cookies. You absolutely can eat pasta and rice. You absolutely can. And then live the physical repercussions that your body was giving you from eating those things. It's a trade. Do I want to feel healthy? Or would I rather eat like everybody else? Now, the other thing that I'm going to talk about is this whole idea of my priority. Because again, if I'm prioritizing my health, inevitably that means I put less priority on the taste of food. When I say, prioritize health over taste, again, I get a lot of negative reaction, like I'm saying something, rude or disgusting. But on some level, why aren't we always prioritizing health? We get mad at the government when we understand that they knew bits of information and they didn't share it with us. We get mad at them because How long did they know that smoking was bad? How long did they know about the plastics of the water bottles that we were drinking, and how before they told us and let us make the decision? But then, when we do know, they don't do anything with the information. So part of me wonders, why do we get so mad at the government for not sharing, when in fact, when we get the information, we kind of pretend like we still don't know? I need everybody to kind of think about this and put it in a bit of perspective. If I'm going to have the information that would allow me to be healthier, it would be great for me to use the information, right? Going back to committing to doing things to help myself. By taking the time to, look at the information and say, my health's important, which means that I'm always going to do the things that improve my health first, then at that point, when I'm going to put something in my mouth, I have to ask the question, how does this contribute to my health? If every time you go to eat something, you ask that question, how does this contribute to my health? What do you think would happen? Right? For sure, you change the way you're doing things. Of course, that's if you answer the question honestly and are focused on improving health. If we decide that I don't care about health right now, I won't change anything. It's up to you to prioritize your health. And when I prioritize something, I prioritize it all the time. That was the way that I was able to make it through school and become a psychologist, is I prioritized my education all the time. Party versus study, I studied. Go skiing versus study, I studied. There was a long period of time, 7 years, where if I wasn't completed, so if everything that I needed to do for school was complete, then I partied. If everything I needed to do for school was complete, then I went skiing. If things were not complete, school came first. That's 7 years, right? Post high school that I did that. But at the end of the day, did I get what I wanted? Yes, I did. At the end of the day, do I get to help people? Yes, I do. Do I love helping people? Yes, I do. So it's all fell in line with what I was looking for. And I'm trying to help you to see that when you prioritize your health and then do those things and feel better, things start to fall in line with what you want. And all of a sudden, eating the stuff isn't as important. We honestly don't really allow ourselves to see how much food affects us. That's the other piece of the puzzle. So, when I really allowed myself to take the negative foods out of my life, I lived a good 4 to 5 months with touching nothing that was high glycemic at all. And then I recall, so that first thing was the strawberry. It's a fruit. At that time, I didn't have all the information about fruit that I have today. And I thought, oh, it's a fruit. Okay, I'm going to have a little piece of fruit. And I had one bite of the strawberry, and that happened in my mouth, the just like chaos that happened from how unreasonably sweet all of a sudden it seemed, despite the fact that 3 kids and Patrick were telling me that they're kind of bland. To me, it was just overwhelming. And all of a sudden, you start to understand that I don't like sweet anymore. And fast forward to today, if I eat something like a cashew, I can taste the sweet in it. And a little bit less with an almond, or like, again, I'm not eating a lot of nuts anymore at this point, just because that's a decision I decided to make with regard to oxalates and other things. But that's not the point of this video. I can taste the sweet in certain foods that other people can't taste or because they're still eating carbs. And I find it funny because I do see that when you take certain things out and then you reintroduce them, you notice the sweet. So I don't think that we really have a good concept of how much carbohydrates really affect us. I do think that that's why people allow themselves to eat them, and to eat them in the volume that they eat them. And I do think that when you start to really understand, so for all the people who take carbohydrates out of their life, see how much better they feel. A lot of the time, the carbs don't get reintroduced long term. So I do believe most people take them out, feel better, live a few months feeling really great, reintroduce them, feel horrible, and then go back to eliminating them. And I feel like that's in there, that step of saying to yourself, oh, it really was the carbs. So reintroducing them, feeling bad, and being able to say, it really was the carbs. I do think that that's part of the process of people learning to live a ketogenic lifestyle. Oh, wow, there are people in the chat. I didn't realize. I just felt my tablet shaking. I'm just going to say hello to a few people. Hi, Pam. Hi, Pam. I'm not sure how to say this name. Itamar. Hello. Hello, Lena. I want to say Sokatrasa. I hope I'm saying that right. Dwight. So, okay, we have a question. I notice a difference in eating carbs and not eating carbs. I feel better when I don't eat carbs, but still have some cravings, not as much. This is part of what I was just saying, is that when we allow ourselves to reintroduce them, we do end up with the cravings again because we keep reintroducing, putting them out. Like, it's really important for us, when you notice that when you reintroduce them, you don't feel well, use that as your motivation to say, I'm going to eat better because it helps me to feel better, and then allow myself to find entertainment in other places, allow myself to just see food as fuel. For those of you who are just joining me, I just want to make sure that I mention that the reason I'm doing this live stream is that it's 1 year today that I've been on YouTube. And I just want to touch base with everybody and just thank you guys for helping this channel to be what it is. We have over 8,700 subscribers in a year, which I think is amazing. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm looking forward to just, another year of helping people to understand, to be healthy in all the different facets. Let me see if there's any other questions here. I see TKL is saying, thank you for all the great information. Nobody understands how damaging certain foods are to our bodies. I have spent a year re-educating myself on food which are beneficial to my health. I definitely understand that. And as I was just saying, that is true. We don't really click in that there's certain foods that we eat that harm, as I said a few seconds ago, I started to understand that oxalates are not so great. And then if you think about it, so I've already lowered the glycemic index of most of the foods I'm eating, and then it's like, okay, wow, now I'm taking oxalates out. How would I be able to do that if my priority wasn't health? I wouldn't have been able to do that. It's hard work staying healthy well into the future. Everything that we want in life that's actually valuable to us is hard to have. And so even though eating a ketogenic lifestyle is so simple, there is effort and energy involved in making it happen. And I think that when we allow ourselves to really focus on the things that make us feel good, on the things that, if I eat something and I feel bad, to note it and say, oh, okay, I might want to double check that, see, make sure that it was actually that food. And I did that with nightshades. I actually isolated them down and ate just that as the one thing that was different in my day, and saw how did I feel the next day. And I was able to figure out it was the nightshades. Now, is there something specific in nightshades that's doing that to me? I'm not 100% sure. I'm not a scientist in that sense of a medical scientist, so I don't know. But what I do know is when I don't eat nightshades, I feel so much better. I really do believe that every person has the ability to do this for themselves, and it could be simple allergies that will be solved later in your journey. So for example, I'm a year and about 9 months into my keto journey. So I have 3 years and something to go I have 5 years and something to go before I'm 7 years out, which is theoretically when I should have remade all of this, or at least most of it. At that point in time, I might be able to do a little test with a nightshade and see that I don't have the same reaction. So was it a buildup? Now, here's the question. Does it mean that 7 years from now, if I don't have a reaction to nightshades, that they should become a staple part of my diet? See, in my mind, I say no to that, because if I was having a reaction to them, for me, for whatever reason, maybe it's the thalassemia situation that I have, for me, it might just be saying, Violet, your body is having this reaction. Better for you not to have it. Doesn't mean that other people won't do really well on it. We're all different. right? Same and yet different. And I think that's what's really important for us to understand, depending on which part of the world you come from and what foods were staples for you and what that part of the world, there's going to be different things that you might react to that I might not react to and vice versa, right? Let me see if there's any other. Carbs are hard to reduce. It's taking a lot of time slowly to come down off them. Being educated on them helps to get off them and understand why. Lena, one of the things I'm going to point out, and it's hard because people have a hard time when I say this out loud, but we are addicted to carbohydrates. So that's what makes it hard to come off. If I slowly pull back my carbs, and I'm not saying that's not a possible way to do it. It is. I'm just pointing something out. When I slowly pull back my carbs, what happens is that I still have enough there that I'm still getting the dopamine hit. I'm still getting the reactions of serotonin and all the other things. Like, so I'm still getting all the reaction that tells my body, oh, this is great. Even if I'm getting a little bit. It's sort of like trying to cut down drinking. You're still getting enough of it that your body and your brain can still pull you in and cause you to overdo. It's part of the reason that for a lot of people, my first suggestion is just go cold turkey. You're going to live 2 to 3 really horrible days, but it's not drawn out. Now, not everybody's able to live those 2 to 3 horrible days. I remember living them. They were not pleasant. Again, you have to keep in mind, my hip issue was big enough that I was willing to go through 2 or 3 horrible days. Actually, at the time, I didn't really know what it was. But I was committed enough to say, I'm just going to keep doing this and see where it takes me. I don't think my personality would have allowed me to have drawn that out over weeks. Because my personality, if I'm being tempted to eat something over and over and over again and it's in my face, I just feel like I would have had a harder time with that. But everybody's different. So we really do need to know ourselves. And if you find that you're able to kind of reduce it slowly and it's working for you, go for it. I would just try your best to make sure that my trajectory is always going down. If you find yourself kind of going down, going up, going down, you need to understand that you're still enough in the addiction that it's holding you hard enough that you're not actually accomplishing what you're trying to accomplish. And at that point, especially if you've done any fasting or something, you might want to just try a different angle, because that's another way to get into a ketogenic state. If you do like a 24-hour fast, you'll be using carbs for fuel. Sorry, you'll be using fat for fuel. And at that point, if you just make sure that when you start eating again, you keep everything really low, under 20, you're going to go through the withdrawal no matter what. That's the hard part about this. But at least you'll be in the state already. So I hope that helps. Oh, hi, Tamara. Thanks for letting me know that the coconut oil video was what helped you to find my channel. I'm going to go back to my list of things here to see if I make sure I didn't miss anything that I wanted to talk to you guys about. Oh, okay. You know, this is another reason that I feel like we have a really hard time living a lifestyle that's different. So first of all, keto is not mainstream yet. I have the feeling that it will be very soon because we're just learning so much about how detrimental carbohydrates are to the body. I think that it will be very hard for doctors to ignore this information. And I don't think that they're trying to ignore it, by the way. I think the doctors are just trying to do what legally they're bound to do. I just feel like it's becoming so obvious that carbohydrates are the problem. Maybe in the next 30 years, this is going to be a completely different story. So between now and then, though, for the people who are already living this lifestyle, one of the things that we need to keep in mind is that it puts us in the position of feeling different from everybody else. And so, I mean, I already mentioned the whole fear of missing out piece of the puzzle, but there's this other thing where when I'm doing something different than you are, but I'm still in that position with you where I care what you think about what, and most people care what other people think about what they're doing. It's just the way humans interact with each other. I do encourage people to put more emphasis on what you think about what you're doing because, for example, If I know it's the right thing to do to say no to my child when they're asking for something, even if all their friends are saying yes, or their parents' friends are saying yes, I'm still going to say no, right? Does that put me in the unpopular position with my kid? Yes, it does, right? But is it the right thing for my kid? Yes, it is. We have the responsibility for our own health to do the things that help us to be in a good position, even if everybody around us is doing something else. And even if everybody around us doesn't understand and they're even concerned, if I know that what I'm doing is actually better, I have a responsibility to do it anyway. I want people to be able to take that decision for themselves with confidence, which means part of that means having a doctor that's supporting you. I know it's hard, but finding a doctor that understands the ketogenic lifestyle, and even if they don't fully understand it, at least having a doctor who's willing to run the blood tests and do the follow-up to help you to be certain that your feeling of goodness is actually translated into internal and my body's improving, right? I really do understand the doctors in the sense that every time you do something that's against the grain, so if you're an early adopter, yes, you're the one pushing the needle forward, but it means you're getting all the dump on you, right? From not being like everybody else. Our job, because our doctors work for us, right? Your doctor is there to make sure that you are okay, that you are healthy. You don't work for them, they work for you. So our job is to make sure that first and foremost, we're doing the things that are going to help us to be healthy. And then our doctor is following up with asking us the right questions about the medical piece, right? So there is a way to have this conversation with your doctor and help them to understand, look, this is how I'm eating, and so I want follow-up, right? Let's make sure we track all the things and make sure that I'm in a good place. And there are so many doctors online that you can go and visit and at least have an idea of what the numbers should look like, so you can have that conversation intelligently with your doctor when they're telling you the numbers, right? Being respectful. The same way that we need to be respectful in our relationships, we need to be respectful in that doctor-client relationship, understanding that I'm the client of the doctor, but I'm also the boss of the doctor, right? Because you wouldn't have a business if I wasn't coming here. I hope that's, I just want to see if there's any more questions in the chat before I go on. You know what? I don't have a particular doctor to recommend. I wish I did. I know that there's some sites that are trying to make a list of keto doctors, and if I can remember it, I'll try to put it in the notes below. I don't specifically have a doctor to recommend to anybody at this point in time. We have a lot of resources online, like Dr. Fung's site, and I'm not sure if Dr. Westman's site has actually a list or a link out to doctors, but if he's listening, I wish he would do that. Let me just see if there's any more questions. Yeah, so I'm actually in the Montreal area, to answer that question. Oh, Veronique, hi from Africa. Thanks for dropping by from Africa. Wow, that's far away. I've never been to Africa. It's one of the places that maybe one day. Okay, so I had another piece of the puzzle, which is, okay, going back to talking about how hard it is to commit to something that's different from what everybody else is doing. For our kids, I see this as being maybe more of a problem than some of us who are older, because I think people that are, maybe older than 35, so 35 and up, we grew up in an era where if you want something, you work for it, right? That you had to push to get what you wanted, and life was hard. If you failed a course at school, you actually got held back. Like, that's the era that I grew up in. I feel that that put me in a good position today to do keto, because it was really equivalent. Do the work, get the reward. If I allowed myself to eat those wrong things, I didn't get the result I was trying to get. When I allowed myself to eat better quality things, I got the results I was trying to get. I feel like our kids are going to be in a hard situation when it comes to this because they're so used to see and get, see and get. And our world is changing in that direction. And I honestly feel that for our health, we need to keep it kind of old school. The energy of going to the gym and working out for muscle, for especially for women, is so important. The more muscle a woman has, the longer her lifespan. Researchers have shown this. So taking that time that's not fun to work out, everybody who knows me knows I hate working out, but if I'm not going to lift weights, then I need to do something that's going to get muscle on me anyway. We can find workarounds. I'm not saying it has to be in the gym, but if you're going to find a workaround, it needs to be a workaround that you're committed to. And I think with food, it's the same thing. You know, a pizza is easy. I pick up the phone, I call, it comes to my house, and I can keep working. Does that mean that it's healthy? You know, it's so much more work to make a keto-friendly pizza that I would rather honestly throw some meat in the oven, throw some vegetables in a pan. I know I can finish that in like 20 minutes and be back to whatever like work things, life things that I need to do. Part of the reason that I don't do, food videos is for that. People ask me, oh, why don't you do a day of eating? And it's like, my eating is so simple because I've decided I want my fun stuff to be about things. So doing activities, being with people, like that's where I get my entertainment. And I make food about fuel because I found that when you make food about fuel, what ends up happening is that you're actually focused on the quality of what you're eating. And then when we make fun about people and activities, you know, food doesn't necessarily have to be part of it. When I go out to a party and there's food there, I spend all of my time interacting, right? And I don't mind if people are eating while I'm interacting with them. I've gotten to a point where, well, 90% of the time what they're eating, I'm not interested in eating anyway, so it's fine for me. And I would rather feel good tomorrow than have acted like everybody else, that whole fear of missing out thing again. I'd rather feel good tomorrow. Let me just see if there's anything else here. Okay. So yes, I do agree with you, Itamar, that by being active, which means doing stuff throughout your day, you know, playing with your kids. First of all, I'm such a proponent of keto because I feel like playing with your kids is important. And when we do a ketogenic lifestyle and we feel better, when we do a ketogenic lifestyle and we get back to the weight that's healthy for us, we do a ketogenic lifestyle and our joints are, you know, fluid again, and then we play with our kids so differently. I feel like in the last 2 years that I've actually been so much more able to like roughhouse a little bit with the boys and my daughter too. She likes to roughhouse a bit too, and just like we ski much. I'm skiing much more easily, so I can do the runs that the kids actually do more easily than being stuck, being more cautious, and they're always like so far ahead of me. I'm not afraid to fall anymore, which is interesting, right? I'm getting older and I'm not afraid to fall on the hill. I'm the one that drives most of the summer activities in terms of like our longboarding, our biking or whatever. And the kids, now they're struggling to keep up with me in those situations. But I feel like when you're feeling better and you can actually live the life that you want to do, like live the life you want to live because you're engaging better with your family, with your friends, right? Like, it's amazing. When there will eventually be grandchildren, being able to roll around on the floor and play with my grandkids, I think that's going to be amazing. What's your goal, right? Why is it that you're doing what you're doing right now? Why are you trying to live that healthy ketogenic lifestyle? I don't know if anyone can put it in the comments, like, look into Pilates. I'm much more of a player. I love to play. I'll just be I don't know if anybody longboards, or I guess skateboards would be similar. I don't know if you guys do that kind of activity, or rollerblade, or a scooter. Like, I like to ride scooters. I like riding things, not motorized. I mean like regular scooters. Like, I like riding things where your balance comes into play, where you actually need to like have some kind of technique to what you're doing. That's why we snowboard and we ski. I really do enjoy, and this was something when I was 20, my knees started hurting me in my 20s. And when that happened, I took the decision at 20 years old, said to myself, I'm going to do as many activities I possibly can while I'm young, because if my knees are already bothering me, like, oh my goodness, like what's going to happen? I was actually nervous. Now I made it all the way to 45. I'm trying to remember how old I was when the hip thing happened. So I got a good 20 years of doing lots and lots of activities. And now I'm going on to 47 next year. Or am I ready for it? I can never remember. And I'm looking forward to this ski season coming up in front of me. I'm looking forward to longboarding again next year. I don't believe it's going to be an issue. I'm actually sitting here in front of you guys and I feel great. Like normally, even before my hip issue, my back was always hurting me, my neck was always hurting me, my shoulders, like I had this particular way of sitting that people noticed, that would be like, they noticed that like I never looked comfortable. That doesn't happen any longer. So, let's see, Gratz Wood says, I've been keto for 2 months at 47. I've dropped 23 pounds. Started rock climbing again, and haven't had the stomach issue since. I can't imagine what it'll be like next year. Exactly. It's so amazing when we get back to doing the things we love, or even start something new from what I understood. Was it again? Again, yeah. So going back to what you love. Pam said, I want to live better, sleep better, feel better, and do all the things I used to do before comfortably. I mean, and those are amazing goals, right? We should all sleep well, right? And I think that if your health is stopping you from being able to sleep well, taking that commitment right now, Pam, to say how I feel matters more than what the food tastes like. And then saying, okay, so how will I follow through on that? And really, every time you go to fuel yourself, say that to yourself. I'm in the kitchen, I'm looking for something to fuel myself. And then what kind of foods are you going to choose versus I'm looking for something that tastes a certain way, right? I need to help myself to understand, what am I actually trying to do right now? And if my goal is fuel, and then I focus on fuel, how does that change the things that I choose? And it's a commitment. It's doing that every day, right? And if I do it every day, how does that help me to get through the adaptation phase, right? So that carb withdrawal, if I'm still cycling in and out of eating well, the chances are I'm still addicted to the carbs. Can I get through that process and then move on? So, and I encourage everybody, if you find yourself reintroducing carbohydrates, take the time to say to yourself, okay, what's happening there that I decided to do that? And maybe you're going to notice that you were influenced by what other people are doing, for example, because I do feel like that's one of the things that happens to us. The other reasons that I have on here, let's see, do I have another reason? Okay, no, I think I went through them all, so that we feel like we're not like everybody else, and that we want it to be easier, and it's not easier. Like, again, being healthy isn't about easy, it's about putting in the work to be healthy all the time. You know, if I want to be strong, and I go to the gym, I lift weights, and let's say I get to the point where I can lift 100 pounds, like I should say easily, but like 100-pound bench press with like relative ease, let's say. You can tell I don't work out, right? Because I don't even know if that's hard or not. But I'm assuming it would be hard. Then if I can do that 100 pounds and I'm all happy with myself, and then for the next 3 months, I don't go back to the gym, and then 3 months later I go back to the gym, do you think I'm going to be able to lift that 100 pounds as easily as I was 3 months earlier? And in truth, the answer to that is no, right? If I'm not doing something to keep that going, then I'll lose it. Versus, if I can't make it to the gym, but maybe I decide, okay, I can't make it to the gym, but I'm realizing I want to keep that skill, maybe I do push-ups. And I just keep myself strong in the way that I can until I can get back to the gym. But I would need to allow myself to do something, right? And if I do the push-ups and I realize it's not as hard as the 100 pounds, maybe I'm gonna do push-ups with my kids sitting on my back, right? Like, you're gonna find the way to do it to help it to be harder for you. So to help it to be harder so that you can help yourself to be stronger, which is kind of the point of what I'm saying. And you will succeed if that's what you focus on. If I focus on succeeding, it doesn't matter if it takes me a month or it takes me a year, as long as I get to the goal, which is the other thing I want to point out. There's so many people who talk about how keto isn't sustainable because how can we do that long term? Or keto isn't sustainable because, well, some people get results like in the short period of time and other people, and so it's not consistent. And you know what? We go back to that whole idea that everybody's different. I really would encourage people not to compare themselves to other people, mostly because it doesn't matter. Like, I have the results that I have, right? I lost almost 70 pounds. And I have those results because I decided to put in the effort and understand Violet enough to know what Violet can eat. Because remember, I had some inflammation things happen from eating things, so from eating nightshades, even though I was eating a low enough amount of them, I still had the inflammation happening. So I needed to understand Violet enough to know what was actually causing Violet's inflammation. And then I needed to understand Violet enough to know what kind of foods Violet would love to eat. So like the taste wise, like what I would be willing to say, I could eat this forever. And so it's interesting to me because today I like what I eat. I don't think I would ever use the word love what I eat because I try to keep love for things that matter more to me. I love playing with my kids and my nieces and nephews, and I love that. I love being outdoors and doing activities. I love hanging with friends and my family, and I love people. I like food. I eat it to fuel myself. Would I eat something that doesn't taste good to fuel myself? No. I'd rather fast that day than eat something I don't like. At the flip side of the coin, would I go out of my way to go get some special tasting food? No. I don't make food that kind of priority for me. That's Violet's decision. Everybody's different. You're going to take your situation and you're going to look at it and you're going to say, what's going to be the thing that helps me to make sure that this is sustainable for me long term? I do encourage people to try to separate fun from food and make activities and interactions with people and solitary activities that you like to do, make those things fun and keep food for fueling yourself. It can taste nice and yeah, sure, why not? But I would keep that for fueling myself, right? Let's go back to the chat and see if there's anything that I'm missing. Pam, you're welcome, Pam. You find yourself frowning at carbs. Yeah, I could see. I don't frown at it. I have so many people around me who are not doing standard Canadian diet that I try my best to be neutral in what other people are eating because they will get there when they get there. If they ask me questions, I will absolutely be helpful. But at the same time, I want people to get there when they get there because if you try to push, and I've had this question before, people that have family members and, people who want their family to be healthier and they see that they're struggling. And the thing that I point out is that if you try to push people to do the ketogenic lifestyle, the only thing that you end up resulting in is people who, if they do try it and are not committed, they try it in a way that could possibly backfire because they open themselves up to allowing the fat in, but at the same time are still allowing the carbs in. And all of a sudden we have that very dangerous situation of high fat, high carb. That's worse to do than the standard Canadian diet, standard American diet, where we're having that low fat thing happen with high carbs. So it's much worse to be letting both of them in full force. I really encourage people, if your family isn't ready to join you, just leave it. I do think that most people get on board when they see the amazing success that you're having. They're much more likely to say, okay, I'm willing to try this. So focus on yourself, do the right things. Like I said, have that doctor that's backing you up and showing that the numbers are making sense. Um, yes, Jenny, I've heard of a lot of type 1 diabetics doing keto. Of course, they would do that alongside their doctor. The thing that's cool about doing keto as a type 1 diabetic is that you need the insulin to put carbohydrates away, obviously, to put away, but they need it for everything, to put everything away. They don't actually make insulin. So no matter what they're eating, they have to take some level of insulin. But when a type 1 diabetic does keto, what they actually end up doing is allowing themselves to take less insulin. So they can keep themselves at normal levels, right? So what we would have normally, our body would have normally produced, they can give themselves just that amount that they need, rather than giving themselves excessively high amounts of insulin, which is what happens when you eat the standard diet while you're a type 1 diabetic. Let's see. Scott said, after doing research on grains, I went keto myself because I felt so much better. All the time, my friends are always buying foods I really miss, but I know it's complete garbage, so I never eat it. You know what, Scott? Like I said earlier, I feel like I miss is about putting myself in that position of, oh, they're doing something that I can't. When you stop and think about it, they're doing something that they actually shouldn't be themselves doing. And I feel like when we get ourselves out of a bad situation, but we see that it was bad for everybody and not just for us, we're much less likely to do that to ourselves. So again, think drugs. Again, think alcohol. When someone was addicted and then they stop using for themselves, not because they were forced to, not because of but when they decided, I don't want to do this anymore, and they stop, it's rare that you hear them saying that they see someone else using and feel, oh, I wish like when they actually stopped on their own, they see someone else using and they feel sorry for them that they're still there. Right? And I feel like, not that I'm saying we need to feel sorry for people. I'm not trying to say that, but I'm saying when I see people eating the wrong food, my thought is they don't know yet. Right? Because if they knew, likely if they really knew, not just knew because Violet said it's bad. I mean, if they really knew that they were poisoning themselves slowly, they'd stop. Right? Nobody wants to die early. Nobody wants to have diabetes. Nobody wants to have these horrible diseases that actually cause us sometimes to be disfigured, sometimes to be isolated, right? Alzheimer's is a horrible situation to have. Like nobody wants to live their life at the end where they can't remember people, and right? But the problem isn't that. The problem is that we don't actively know as a society that carbohydrates are causing those things. And because we don't actively know as a society that that's what's happening, we don't label it that way. And so therefore we don't interact with it that way. So, but when they will know, they will make those changes. Brian said, no need to push. Once you lose about 50 pounds, people start asking your advice. That is very true, Brian. So Pam is asking me what's a typical meal plan for me. And honestly, like I said earlier, I really, really try not to talk about what I specifically eat. I'm boring. And I'm saying I'm boring because I've never cared about food. So like rewind before I lost the weight, I've never cared about food. I was that person that I loved chocolate, right? Like I could say that, like in all honesty, but food per se, like I remember my girlfriend telling me that she traveled all the way to Newfoundland to have lobster, and I was looking at her like, you're crazy, because I would never do that. I would never try. We went to Cape Cod, and Patrick was all like, oh, I can't wait to have the crab roll, the crab roll, the crab roll. No. The funny part about the entire story, he talked about that crab roll from the time we decided we're going to Cape Cod, and when we got there, he didn't have it. So that's the funny part about the story, because I honestly feel like on some level, he's still like living that life of like food's so important, but then when it's actually time to make choices, he didn't choose it because it's not a healthy thing to actually eat. But it was his intention the whole time we were going there, right? Even the kids asked him, like, I thought you were having the crab roll at some point. And he's like, yeah, no. And he didn't have it. I think what's funny is that, like, what I eat in a day, if I'm going to be completely transparent, what I eat in a day, I have one meal a day. And that meal is pretty much standard. It's some kind of piece of meat and some number of vegetables or a big salad. If you want, like, what type of meat is like, is it chicken? Is it pork? Is it honestly, at the end of the day, I don't even bother myself with like what kind of meat it is and what kind of vegetable. Because from Monday to Friday, that's what I eat. On the weekend, it's a little bit more complicated because I'm also like cooking for the kids and like we're eating like, differently because I get home super late. So when we're all eating together, then the meal might be a little bit different in the sense that it might be. Again, this is how much I don't care about food. Sometimes I might make a keto-friendly pizza. Sometimes I might make some kind of keto-friendly lasagna or whatever. I might do that. It's also extremely possible that I will still have a salad and a piece of meat, right? Because my focus, even at that point, chatting with the kids, talking about their week, what are we doing later? Like, what fun things are we going to accomplish? If it happens to be the Sunday that I'm fasting, then they're eating and I'm not, and I'm still sitting chatting with them possibly, or if I'm not going to sit with them, then I'm off. We're probably working on my video for the next day. So I know people think that knowing what other people eat is going to somehow give them clues. I actually believe it's more about knowing yourself, because if you are the person that likes to have variety in the things that you're eating, my bigger suggestion to you, rather than trying to know what I eat or Dr. Westman eats or Dr. Berg eats, or rather than doing that, if we take an honest look at the standard Canadian American diet that we were doing previously, and we looked at how many meals in a month were we actually making, you're going to see that there was somewhere between 5 and 7, right? In a month, if you actually just look at what you make, 5 to 7 different things. And then there would be the weekend where either you order something and then you have something super different coming in, or you, like I do, like you have more time and you create something different on the weekend, and that might be one like special something, but still total meals, 5 to 7 things in the month that you've eaten. My point is this: if you like variety, take the time and find, so in these meats, I like these meats, how am I going to cook them? Find some variety there. And there's a lot of ways to have variety in how you cook chicken, how you cook pork, how you cook steak, how you cook burger meats, how you cook turkey, there's so many meats, right? How you cook all the different kinds of fish. So you have a lot of variety there. And then I would do the same thing with the vegetables. I would find all the different types of vegetables that you like, and I would even try some new ones to see might I like them. And I would cook them in different ways and see what I find interesting. For myself, in the beginning, I did that. Now I know my staple go-to things. I can eat Caesar salad sincerely every day. You hear the fire truck outside. But I can eat Caesar salad sincerely every day. I love Caesar salad. Now, I also like Greek salad. I also like other kinds of salad. There's a really nice salad at a restaurant that I go to that has meat in it, that I like that salad. So I have different types of salad, but if I'm at home, I'm probably having a Caesar salad. I don't have a problem with that because I eat for fuel. If I'm at home, I have whatever vegetables I happen to grab, I just grab whatever looks the freshest in the store, and I know what I'm going to do with them, because those different vegetables, I kind of know what I'm going to do, whether it's cabbage or broccoli or asparagus, or I just know what I'm going to do with those different things. I encourage everybody, take the time to find different kinds of vegetables, try new things. I tried kale, I tried dandelion greens, and I tried all kinds of different things just to see, might I like them? If you try new things, then you're going to actually have a chance to figure out, okay, can I have a wider variety of things that I'm eating? And then if I have that wider variety, how does it help me? You might end up back in the space that I am, where it's like, I tried all those things at the beginning because I was worried that I wasn't going to like what was happening. And now I feel so amazing. I would rather just be in the kitchen for, I think I said this before, I'm going to say it now. I hate cooking. Being in the kitchen for 20 minutes and being able to knock out a meal and get out of the kitchen, that's what I love about the ketogenic lifestyle, because I can keep it that simple for myself. And for the more elaborate things, Patrick likes being in the kitchen, so I don't have to worry about that, right? So if there's something more elaborate happening, he'll make it, and I can go do other things. So you need to figure out your lifestyle. You need to figure out what's going to work for you. I don't know if anyone else has put any other questions in here. Those are all good ideas. Salad, meat, vegetables is easy, thanks. You're welcome, Pam. Meat and veggies are my go-to. Yeah, Brian, exactly. Barry said, there are many keto recipes on YouTube. You just need to look. Yeah, you know what? Like I said, I feel like for me, the energy, effort, I started off doing keto watching Keto Connect. And I used to make their mug bread. A lot of the desserts I had at the very beginning were theirs. I can't remember the last time I had a dessert. I can't remember the last time I had a fat bomb. I can't, like, honestly, like all these things that I was so worried about at the beginning, like I need. And you realize it's all about trying to make your keto life look like the standard American diet, standard Canadian diet. And my issue with that is if that diet helped me to be fat and to be sick and to have inflammation, why do I think making my keto diet look that way is going to be healthy for me? All it's really doing is reintroducing sweet tastes that push me to remember that carbs are out there, and right, like at the beginning when I was making those desserts, one of the funny things was that I did find myself like, not that I was craving the bad food, because I would not allow myself to even go there. But what I was doing was looking at when's the next time I can make some of these things. And the truth is, even though they're keto friendly, they're still high in extra carb, and they're still like adding to the meal in a way that's not strictly about fueling myself. Now again, everybody's different. If you like dessert, then there's no reason that you shouldn't have dessert. And if these keto-friendly recipes help you to have dessert and stay within your numbers, that's terrific. For me and my math, the thing that I noticed that bothered me was that I would be eating less vegetables and less salad to leave space for these treats and desserts. And I'm looking at the quality difference because I'm still using nut flours and processed stevia and processed this and all of a sudden it's like my fresh food that I cooked, I'm eating less of it to leave space for processed foods. Personal choice. I decided I didn't want to do that. Do I do it occasionally? I allow myself to do it occasionally. For example, Christmas is coming. It's next week. My daughter has already asked me, can I make some keto donuts? I'm going to do that for her. I think she also wanted me to make the keto cheesecake. Or no, it wasn't her. It was Patrick wants me to make the keto cheesecake. I'm going to do that for him. Am I going to have some of this? Of course, I'm making it. I'm going to have some. But again, treat, right? It's Christmas time. This is the only time I'm going to allow myself to have these things. I don't make them the rest of the year. That's why she's actually asking me to make it. The last time we had it, I can't remember whose birthday it was, and I made some to take to the birthday just in case I wanted to have something. I made some, and she had it there. That was the last time I made it. The point being, I took a conscious decision that I saw how much it was coming in because it tasted sweet, and my brain started chasing sweet again. And even though it was keto-friendly sweet, it's still sweet, right? Your brain and these artificial sweeteners, it's not discriminating, right? And so all the bodily processes are still happening while you're chasing that sweet. It's so important for us to understand, especially if we're still in that phase of trying to lose weight, that your body is artificially now taking some carbs out in this anticipation that carbs are coming in. Some are coming in, by the way, because the nut flours do have carbohydrates in them. So it should balance itself out. But at the same time, could it push you to be chasing to eat more of these keto-friendly treats than maybe you might have anticipated eating? Yeah. And I found that happening to myself, where I would make them, and then I'm eating more of them than let me eat a good meal. And in my opinion, I'd rather eat the good meal. So again, this is about Violet. I would rather eat the good meal. If your numbers are falling in line and you are okay with what you ate, it's not a problem. I'm that person that I'd rather put in the good and then have a small dessert than have a overeat my desserts and notice that I'm shutting down my good quality food. And I noticed myself doing it, that's why I stopped making them. Let's see. Someone's asking if there might be a Pat chat that's live. I will have to talk to Patrick about that. I'm not sure how comfortable he is doing it live. I mean, I'm not so sure how. I've done this before, and I'm doing it very minimal today, streaming off my phone, one microphone. That's why you can hear the room noise. I don't have my whole setup of taking out the noise and everything. So it's a little bit of a different setup. I'm in a different room. I'm not really sure how Pat would feel about the live stream, but if he's up for it, I'm totally up for it. Brian says, I go off keto for Christmas, Thanksgiving, birthdays. Works for me. I still eat less of the sugary stuff. No big deal. I'm at my original goal weight. The one thing I will say, Brian, and so I'm saying it out loud because I want other people in the chat to know this, and if you're fine with what you're doing, that's terrific. What I'm going to say about that is every time I step out of keto, there's 4 days, right? That is going to take me to get back in. That's part one. Part two, every time you allow yourself to eat a higher amount of carbs than is recommended, we still need to just understand that I've eaten those carbs. Whatever negative repercussions those carbohydrates are going to have in my body, they're going to have. So the thing that I'm concerned about there is if we look at the 7 years that it takes to rebuild, every time that I allow myself to eat processed sugar and all that stuff, if there's stuff in me, so if there's cancers that my body's trying to work on, if there's calcium artery stuff that my body might be trying to work on, if there's neurological things that my body's trying to work on, if like all those things that my body is currently working on because I'm keeping my carbs really low, I'm fasting once a week, like all the stuff that I'm doing to try to really if I allow myself then 4 to 5 to 6 times a year to go off and eat these things, I'm reintroducing the negative, right? So and how much harm could that possibly be doing versus the good that I did, right? Because that's one of the hard things about keto is that it's not that because I stopped eating the food, I'm healthy. My body needs to repair, and those repairs take years. So it's one of those hard things, right? Because of the 30 years of eating poorly, the poison has more of a hold on my body than the good actions that I'm doing. So every time the poison comes in, it's much more disruptive than my good actions. So I really encourage people to just think about going off keto versus maybe having a little bit more bandwidth but staying keto, and see if that's a possibility for you. But like I said, I'm putting it out there because I do want the other people who are watching the video and reading the chat to understand that it's a bit of a hard thing for your body to have to navigate, because it's basically, I would put it to you if I'm that alcoholic again, right? I go 6 months without drinking and then I drink. What happens to them? They are so sucked back in and it takes them so long to get back out. And the thing that we don't realize is, again, because alcohol is so obvious and we see it, we don't really realize that when we do that with keto, those negative repercussions are still there, right? We see the person become drunk and tipsy and falling all over the place. I don't necessarily get tipsy and fall all over the place, but what's happening in my body. So that's the part I'm actually more focused on. It's the what's happening in your body. And if it took 4 months for my body to get rid of those cells, that eating those carbs just kind of put the cells back. Because again, the poison has more effect than the antidote that I'm trying to do, because it's really just a lack of poison, right? It's like, take the poison away, my body's rebuilding, 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 rebuilding. The poison came in and like it, right? So I hope that's clear. I hope that's clear. I'm not sure if that's making sense what I just said, but like I do see that as a very important piece of the puzzle that we need to allow ourselves to address. Is a keto diet or really a change in the way you look at eating and how you want to live and eat? I'm sorry. Is a keto diet or really a change in the way you look at eating and how you want to live and eat? I'm not really sure I understand the question, Barry. If you want to like rewrite it. Lately thinking I should go down to ideal BMI. Never felt it was possible. Brian, what I would say is ignore BMI, more look at waist to height ratio. BMI is a weird metric that doesn't actually help us to be as healthy as we could be, versus if your weight to height ratio is 50% or less, you're in a good place. So if you check your waist to height ratio right now and it's 50% or less, everything's fine. And that's men and women. So it correlates really highly with heart issues, and it correlates really highly with metabolic issues. So I do have to do, Scott, some checks on this moringa tree. I'm the person that always wants to do the balance between, are the carbohydrates that I'm actually going to eat worth the minerals and nutrients that I'm going to get out of the thing I'm eating? So it would depend on the ratio there, because, I mean, again, if you eat nose to tail, you're going to get all those vitamin and minerals, right? So it's a question mark for me. Some Grassroots said, I started keto 2 weeks before Halloween on purpose. Maybe not the best timing, but it was successful. So that means you didn't overeat the candy. That's a good strategy, especially that you were able to stick to it. It was a good strategy. Brian said, it's a slippery slope for sure. Cravings do go up. Yeah, that's kind of the hard part, right? And not everybody is going to be successful at staying keto. You should be. If you have a slip and you go back, you should be able to. But again, if I'm doing that to myself all the time, it creates the mindset that the carbs don't matter. But they do. That's the whole reason we're doing any of this. We're doing all of this because the carbs matter. So if the number of carbs that I let into my body is what determines whether my body is able to successfully use them, store them as glycogen, use a bit for energy, not have to store any for fat, and I can just keep moving forward. If that's the goal, then on those days that I'm overdoing it, the question becomes, okay, what am I really saying to myself about like the healthy part of this, like the not rising my insulin repeatedly, the causing my body to store fat unnecessarily, all these things, right? Because even though your weight on the scale might not move, you do realize that if you've eaten 70, 80 grams of carbs in that day, yes, your body stored it, right? It takes us how many years to get to the point where we actually can physically see that we're overweight. So it's an important piece of the puzzle to keep in mind. Did I ever do a video on autophagy? I don't believe that I have specifically done a video on autophagy. I did one on fasting. I'm sure that I mentioned autophagy in that video, but I don't think I've actually done the video specifically on that. Crone Women Walking asked, how do you get this in nursing homes? Oh my goodness. And I'm thinking of getting into clinical psychology. Is still a viable path. You know, I'm so, well, I don't even know where to start with that one. Nursing homes feed residents in a way that I believe does contribute to mental lack and loss of mental clarity. I also feel hospitals feed people in a way that causes a lot of inflammation. But this is also just our standard diet, right? Like, so until the world catches up and understands that carbohydrates are actually the problem, which would mean we'd have to stop listening to the big food companies, especially all the snack food companies, because snack foods are just sugar in a pretty package, right? We'd have to stop listening to all these guys. I mean, and again, I don't want to maybe I'm trying to be positive in this video. It's my 1 year anniversary on YouTube video. I will say this. We know that snack food companies have food scientists who create texture and flavors in food that make them hyper palatable, which basically means they're making a food in a way that causes your brain to want you to finish the bag or the package, right? So even though they'll say, oh, there's 6 servings in here, they've made it in a way that once you start eating it, your brain wants to finish it, and probably even open another bag. So I do think that getting pediatricians to understand that children shouldn't be eating these garbage foods, I mean, oh my gosh, formula, baby formula is sugar, right? Getting residence homes, like older people, to know that that's not healthy, getting hospitals to change their menus. These are all things that are valid questions that we do need to look into. Scott asks, I found that using ashwagandha extract and milk thistle extract has me feeling great. Adaptogens that keep cortisol low and help your liver greatly. Not a bad idea with all the toxins out there today. Honestly, Scott, what I would say, I'm such a whole foods person. Like my go-to is the best quality meat. So grass-fed if you can afford it, grocery store if that's what you can afford, right? But the best quality meat, the best quality veg, so organic if you can afford it, grocery store after that. I honestly feel like we have the ability, so our body has the ability to, I'm trying to remember what the name of that, we have our own cleanup system, which I can't remember the name right now, but we have the ability to detox ourselves. And this is where fasting, first of all, is a great detox. People need to understand, and it's very basic. If I'm fasting for a week and yet still going to the bathroom daily, guess what? Right? That's detox, that's cleanup. I haven't eaten anything, right? After day 2, I'm still going to the bathroom after that. That's detox. That's my body clearing out junk. So we need to understand that we know how to do this. We know our body was made to do this. Now, I'm not going to say that if you enjoy using those products, ashwagandha and milk thistle, and fine. But I do feel like sometimes companies, they push products. I do remember I used to do this. I used to do cleanses, right? You go, you buy all the pills, you take them for a month, and I used to do that. Now I look back and realize all I had to do was fast for a week. It's kind of crazy, right? But I paid how much for all those products? So, of course, we're all going to do what we're going to do. Part of the thing that I always try to do, I want to present you with the best quality information that I can. I want to present you with the baseline. I want to present you with the information that makes it sustainable, right? Like not everybody has the funds to buy all the products, all the things, right? So being able to know that I can buy real meat, real veg, make my vegetables or my salads and spice it, and I'm going to be healthy. Like just knowing that I can do that. Everything I add on top, those are extras. And if adding those things on top help you to keep it sustainable, do it. No question. If adding those things on top for fun help you to do it in a way like, so if eating keto-friendly treats helps you to do it in a way that keeps it fun, I always just suggest to people, as long as you keep them as treats or desserts, right? Don't eat them between meals. That rises your insulin. And try your best not to make them as a daily part of so if they're daily, that's your meal plan, right? Processed food is still processed food. So it's about making decisions. Now, let's be clear. There are people out there doing standard American diet and everything they're eating is processed. That's one completely negative end of the spectrum. And then you have people that are only doing whole foods. Everything is made fresh. It's kind of like I'm kind of feeling like this is again another extreme that doesn't necessarily need to be there. There is middle ground. All I do is make sure that people understand that if you're closer to this end, the chances are very good that you're going to be in a healthy situation. At that point, it doesn't mean that you have to stay there all the time, but you don't want to be at this end either, right? It's about making sure that you understand that a treat is a treat. So a treat means it's something that you're not doing every day, right? Dessert is different. If you're the person that's going to be eating desserts and you're keeping them keto friendly and everything's falling inside the realm, that's fine too. For me, it was a choice that I decided to take, that I wasn't doing that. You don't have to do it my way. This is part of the reason, again, I don't do videos on what I eat in a day, because you don't need to do it my way. You need to do it in the way that helps you to keep this sustainable and keep on track. If you're doing a lot of desserts and you find that you're not feeling amazing, or you find your clarity goes away, or you find that your weight is rising, then it's the time to look and say, okay, is this the best thing that I could be doing for myself? At that point, you'll take a decision and you'll make adjustments. It's part of what I like about keto, is that as we look at things, we start to see more, right? We try different things, right? Like I've mentioned it before. Sometimes I do a completely carnivore day just because, right? I don't have to, but I will do it because it makes sense for the way that I was feeling that day. And it allows my body a little bit of a chance not processing veg, right? So there's no carbs in my day, right? That's a really easy day for my body to process. I'm noticing the time. It's 11:16, so I do need to jump off. I do have to get to work. I wanted to see if there's any more questions or anything in the comments, so let me just take a look here. Keto is a lifestyle change, no doubt. Thank you, Brian. Oh, Brian, your mother's in a nursing home and every meal is loaded with carbs. I could definitely understand why you're asking that question. I don't know how often you're able to bring her a meal, but you know what? Maybe you bringing some food in for her, at least you'll know sometimes she's eating better quality. I'm at 50% waist to height already. Thanks. Glad. And I'm 62. Okay, great. So, if you're already at the 50%, so waist to height ratio, then that's perfectly fine. Obviously, if you feel like your weight is still a little high, because I feel like that was where you were going with that, it's 50% or less. So, but it sounds to me that theoretically, you should be in a good situation. Scott is saying the medical community has taken herbs away, telling them they don't work, such as when they are using them to heal and maintain for thousands of years. I keep keto too and use a lot of coconut oil. You know what? We need to understand that every single medication that we take is coming from vegetation. So this is part of the reason that I'm really encouraging people that when you are taking herbs and things to like ashwagandha and all, like, you also need to understand what it's doing to you, because it is actually doing something. So I think that anything that's affecting cortisol, anything that's affecting insulin, anything, you need to understand that that's a medication. This is part of the reason that I would rather see you eat your food in a certain way and manage your food properly so that you don't need to take some external something to solve it, then take that external something thinking that is because it's natural, it's not doing something, because it still is. Zebon fan, thank you very much for encouraging the channel. Thank you. Love doing pure carnivore days. Makes me feel more energetic and feels great. Jessica, yeah, I do like doing that once in a while. So, you know what, guys? I really do have to jump off. This was fun. I wasn't sure how long I was going to stay on. I had given myself an hour. I really enjoyed talking to you guys. One of the things that I'm happy about making it to my 1 year is not just that there's 8,700 wellness warriors. It's not just that. It's how much you guys actually engage, not only with me, but with each other in the comments, and that we're helping each other to do better. It's my goal, right? I'm a psychologist. It's what I do. I love helping people. And this YouTube channel has given me the opportunity to help so many people, which is pretty amazing. And I'm looking forward to another year of helping even more people. I am going to like take some of the suggestions for videos. Pam, thank you. I'm always looking for suggestions for videos. What you guys want to hear about is obviously what I want to make videos about. So that's a great, send me suggestions, what I'm saying. Put them in the comments. I'm always paying attention and willing to do more. So I'm going to talk to Patrick about whether or not he'd like to do a live. We'll see what he says. And if it's something that he's willing to do, we'll see when that can possibly happen. So for now, I want to thank you guys for watching Mind Blowing Health and Wellness with Violet. Love making these videos for you guys. As usual, I do have my Patreon account if someone of you would like to make a contribution to the production, so the production of the other videos, not the live streams. And I also have Amazon links in the description if you'd like to make a contribution that way. It's really simple. You just use the Amazon link as the portal to Amazon, and then anything you purchase, a commission would go to the production of videos. Thanks for coming by. It's really fun. I wasn't sure I'd get people here, so I'm really excited that there were people here. So thanks for coming by. Love making videos for you guys. I'm really looking forward to another year on YouTube creating for you guys. Have a great day.